The galaxy stood as a mosaic of countless civilizations, united under the banner of the Celestial Accord, a coalition meant to maintain peace and prosperity. Among these advanced races, humanity was an unassuming newcomer, still finding its footing among beings who had traversed the stars for millennia. To most of the Accord, humans were curious but unimpressive, a species with primitive technology and no remarkable resources to offer. However, a quiet tension had begun to ripple through the alliance. A mineral-rich planet, designated Meridian 4, was discovered on the fringes of human-claimed space. Its strategic value was undeniable, and humanity, having surveyed and charted it first, laid a formal claim. But their assertion was met with scorn. The Cthar Dominion, an empire known for its vast fleets and territorial appetite, dismissed humanity's claim as irrelevant. Backed by the Accord, the Cthar declared Meridian 4 under their jurisdiction, dismissing humanity's diplomatic overtures as the posturing of an unseasoned race. In the Accord's Grand Chamber, Dr. Elias Morrow stood as humanity's representative. Slim, composed, and unshakably resolute, he presented his arguments with precision. He spoke of exploration rights, humanity's contributions to the Accord's scientific efforts, and their peaceful intentions. But the Cthar ambassador, a towering, reptilian figure adorned in ceremonial armor, sneered at the human's words. "Your species is insignificant," the ambassador hissed, his voice dripping with disdain. "You stumble into the stars, clinging to your fragile existence, and dare to challenge the will of the Dominion? Meridian 4 is ours, as is the right of the strong." Dr. Morrow's calm demeanor never faltered. "Strength without wisdom leads to ruin," he replied, his tone sharp but controlled. "Humanity may be young, but we do not yield our rights simply because you consider us lesser." The chamber echoed with murmurs, a mix of curiosity and amusement. The Accord's other members had no intention of opposing the Cthar, who were too valuable an ally. Humanity's protests, however justified, were a nuisance in the grand scheme of galactic politics. Days later, humanity's fears were realized. Without warning, Cthar warships descended upon a thriving human colony on Meridian 4. Their assault was brutal and efficient. Cities were reduced to ash, and countless lives were extinguished in the span of hours. The response from the Accord was silence. Official channels offered condolences but no action. The message was clear: humanity was on its own. As the smoke cleared, a transmission was broadcast from Earth to the galaxy. Dr. Morrow's face appeared, his expression hardened by grief but unyielding. His voice carried the weight of a species pushed too far. "To the Cthar Dominion," he began, "you have made your position clear. You believe humanity is weak, incapable of defending what is ours. You consider our lives expendable in your quest for dominance." He paused, his gaze piercing through the screen. "You want war? We'll give you a war." The message rippled through the galaxy, reaching the halls of the Accord and the war councils of the Cthar. For the first time, humanity's defiance was laid bare. Within hours, Earth's governments convened in an emergency session. Diplomatic efforts were cast aside as humanity braced for what was to come. Factories shifted to wartime production, and the call for unity resounded across nations. The scale of the challenge was overwhelming, but so too was humanity's resolve. What the Cthar and the Accord had failed to understand was humanity's capacity for resilience. They had underestimated the fire that could burn within a cornered species, and the storm that would follow. Humanity had always been a fractured species, divided by borders, beliefs, and ambitions. But when the Cthar's attack shattered the illusion of safety, those divisions melted away. The realization was swift and stark: survival demanded unity. Across the globe, leaders who once argued over trade, territory, and politics now spoke with one voice. A unified command structure was established, and the Earth Defense Command, or EDC, was born. Factories were repurposed overnight. Assembly lines that once produced cars and consumer electronics now churned out weapons, ammunition, and spacecraft. The hum of machinery echoed across continents as humanity worked tirelessly to arm itself for the coming storm. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists formed think tanks, pushing the boundaries of human ingenuity to bridge the technological gulf between them and their alien adversaries. The Kthar had superior ships and weapons, but humanity had something they didn't: desperation and the ability to adapt. Salvage teams combed through the wreckage of Kthar's ships from earlier skirmishes, recovering scraps of alien technology. What little they found was analyzed, dissected, and reimagined. One breakthrough came when Dr. Asha Patel, a brilliant engineer, reverse-engineered a Kthar energy cell to power an experimental EMP weapon. The device emitted a pulse that disabled alien systems without affecting human technology. Another innovation was an AI-driven tactical system that could predict enemy movements by analyzing vast amounts of battlefield data in real time. These advances leveled the playing field just enough to give humanity a fighting chance. In the midst of these efforts, Admiral Sofia Vega emerged as a key leader. A seasoned naval officer with a reputation for unconventional thinking, Vega became the face of humanity's military response. Her sharp mind and unrelenting determination inspired those around her. In the EDC's command center, she worked alongside Dr. Patel, blending science and strategy into a cohesive plan. The first test of their new capabilities came sooner than expected. A Kthar supply convoy, heavily guarded but vulnerable in its complacency, was detected near an asteroid field. Vega saw an opportunity to strike. Using the EMP weapons and their AI systems, a small human fleet executed a daring ambush. The asteroids provided cover, and the EMP weapons crippled the Kthar ship's defenses. With precision and audacity, the humans tore through the convoy, destroying critical supplies and scattering the enemy forces. It was a victory that reverberated across the galaxy. For the first time, the Kthar had been outmaneuvered, their arrogance punished by what they had dismissed as a primitive species. The victory galvanized humanity. Soldiers trained harder, scientists worked longer hours, and the people of Earth began to believe that they could endure this war. Yet, amid the triumph, the cost of the fight weighed heavily. Admiral Vega often found herself writing letters to families of fallen soldiers, her words unable to ease the pain of loss. Dr. Patel, though brilliant in her field, struggled with the moral implications of her work, knowing that every breakthrough she made brought humanity closer to both survival and devastation. In quiet moments, soldiers exchanged letters with loved ones, unsure if they would ever return. On the front lines, friendships deepened as comrades relied on one another to endure the chaos of battle. These personal struggles and small victories painted a vivid picture of humanity's resilience. The message to the galaxy was clear. The Kthar were no longer facing a fragmented species but a united force driven by survival and the refusal to be subjugated. Humanity had taken its first step from the defensive to the offensive, proving that they would not go quietly into extinction. The Kthar had believed humanity would falter quickly. They assumed a species so young and inexperienced in interstellar warfare would crumble under the might of their fleets. Yet, every engagement revealed a flaw in their strategy. Humans adapted. They learned, innovated, and retaliated in ways the Kthar could neither predict nor counter. Within the halls of the Kthar High Council, frustration mounted. Reports from the front lines described erratic yet effective tactics. Fleets expected to crush resistance found themselves ambushed, their advanced systems neutralized by human ingenuity. Entire battalions sent to pacify human colonies found themselves mired in prolonged guerrilla conflicts. One commander growled in frustration, slamming his claws against the holotable. "They are not fighting like any foe we've faced. Their methods are chaotic, unpredictable." Another responded, her voice tinged with disbelief. "They turn their weaknesses into strengths. They fight as though the destruction of one ship, one outpost, is a minor inconvenience." What the Kthar perceived as chaos was, in truth, calculated desperation. Humanity had embraced unconventional warfare, exploiting their biology, environment, and sheer determination to gain the upper hand. Kthar soldiers, bred for stability in controlled climates, struggled in Earth's diverse and hostile terrains. Arctic winds froze their supplies, desert heat melted their equipment, and dense jungles became death traps, where human soldiers vanished into foliage only to strike from the shadows. In space, the same creativity prevailed. Human hackers infiltrated Kthar networks, sowing chaos among their fleets. Entire squadrons were left blind when their targeting systems were reprogrammed mid-battle. Sabotage teams, equipped with oxygen-rich suits, breached Kthar's ships to plant explosives and disable critical systems. One of humanity's most audacious operations involved an invasion force targeting Earth's moon base. The Kthar expected a conventional defense but were met with a deadly surprise. The humans had rigged sections of the moon's surface with kinetic traps, launching shards of debris at hypersonic speeds toward advancing ships. The invading force was decimated before they even touched down. But this ingenuity came at a price. The cost of resistance was etched into the lives of every human fighting to survive. Cities near key battle zones were evacuated, their residents leaving behind homes and histories to deny the Kthar resources. Entire regions were scorched to ensure nothing of use remained for the invaders. Civilians, though untrained, volunteered for perilous missions. Miners with experience in explosives turned demolition experts, while mechanics became frontline engineers, patching up damaged weapons and vehicles under fire. The war blurred the line between soldier and civilian, as everyone played a role in humanity's survival. On one remote colony, a small garrison held out against the Kthar siege for weeks. When their defensive line was breached, the commanding officer ordered his team to retreat while he detonated the final charge. His last transmission to his family carried the quiet strength of his sacrifice. "Tell them I fought so they wouldn't have to." These stories, of bravery and heartbreak, echoed across Earth and its colonies. For every victory, there were losses that reminded humanity of the fragile line they walked. Families mourned loved ones, and commanders wrestled with the weight of every decision that cost lives. Yet, through it all, humanity endured. Their unrelenting will to survive and their capacity to turn every resource, no matter how limited, into a weapon of resistance left the Kthar increasingly wary. The war was no longer the one-sided conquest they had anticipated. It had become a protracted, unpredictable struggle where the so-called primitive species refused to be broken. For the first time in centuries, the Kthar were forced to acknowledge fear, not of humanity's strength, but of their sheer refusal to submit. Humanity's desperation had long been their greatest weapon, but now, it was their ingenuity that threatened to reshape the course of the war. Deep beneath the surface of a fortified Earth laboratory, Dr. Asha Patel and her team worked tirelessly on an audacious idea. The Kthar's fleet mobility, powered by hyperspace conduits, was the backbone of their dominance. If humanity could sever that advantage, they could level the playing field, or even tilt it in their favor. The result of their efforts was the hyperspace disruptor, a device capable of destabilizing the conduits and trapping entire fleets in real space. It was untested, experimental, and volatile, but humanity had no room for hesitation. Admiral Vega, recognizing its potential, devised a plan that would put everything on the line. The target was a massive Kthar fleet station near a remote star system, poised to strike at Earth's colonies. Using bait ships to lure the enemy into position, the disruptor was activated at the critical moment. The conduit collapsed, and the Kthar fleet, caught mid-transition, was thrown into chaos. Their ships emerged scattered, disoriented, and vulnerable. What followed was a brutal and methodical assault. Human ships, armed with EMP weapons and coordinated by advanced AI systems, exploited the disarray to dismantle the Kthar fleet piece by piece. It was humanity's most decisive victory yet, and the galaxy took notice. With this breakthrough, humanity shifted from defense to offense. The EDC, emboldened by their success, launched a series of counterattacks targeting Kthar supply lines and forward operating bases. Sabotage teams infiltrated alien facilities, planting explosives and hacking critical systems. Colonies that once cowered under the Kthar's shadow now fought back with ferocity, inspired by the turning tide. The Kthar's fear began to grow. Among their ranks, whispers spread of humans who fought without honor, employing tactics that defied the rigid structure of Kthar warfare. They spoke of human fleets that struck from nowhere, of bases reduced to rubble overnight, and of soldiers who seemed to thrive in conditions that should have killed them. The psychological toll on the Kthar was immense. Their leadership, so confident at the war's outset, now scrambled to contain the spreading chaos. Strategists who had once dismissed humanity as insignificant were forced to admit they had grossly underestimated their enemy. Amid the escalating conflict, a crack appeared within the Celestial Accord. While many members remained loyal to the Kthar, a faction within the alliance began to question their alignment. These races, smaller and less powerful, had long resented the Dominion's dominance. Humanity's defiance and resilience struck a chord with them, offering a glimmer of hope that the Kthar's reign could be challenged. In secret, emissaries from this faction approached humanity. They offered intelligence, resources, and covert support in exchange for future alliances. The Accord, once a monolith of unified power, was now fracturing, and humanity was at the center of the shift. These negotiations were tense, but the dynamic had changed. No longer did humanity come to the table pleading for recognition. Now they demanded respect. Dr. Moreau, returning to the diplomatic stage, made humanity's terms clear: recognition as equals, reparations for the devastation wrought, and a guarantee that Meridian 4 would remain under human control. For the first time, the Accord saw humanity not as upstarts, but as contenders. Every act of defiance, every battle won, every life sacrificed had transformed them from an underestimated species into a force capable of altering the galaxy's balance of power. The Kthar, once so assured of their supremacy, now faced a grim reality. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival alone, they were fighting for victory. And with every step forward, it became clear that the Kthar's war of conquest had birthed their greatest adversary. The final act of humanity's defiance began with an audacious plan, an all-or-nothing assault on the Kthar homeworld, Cryon. It was a gamble that bordered on madness, but humanity had come too far to retreat now. Cryon was not only the heart of the Kthar Dominion's power, but also the symbol of their invincibility. To strike there was to strike at the core of their arrogance, and to shatter it forever. The EDC fleet, bolstered by every remaining ship, weapon, and soldier humanity could muster, set out with grim determination. The hyperspace disruptor was deployed to prevent reinforcements, isolating Cryon from the rest of the Dominion. It was a desperate move, as it meant humanity had no chance of retreat. This battle would end the war, one way or another. Admiral Vega led the fleet personally, her voice steady as she relayed orders. The human ships, though smaller and less advanced, moved with precision and cohesion, a testament to the hard-won experience of the war. On the ground, special operations teams prepared for sabotage missions to weaken planetary defenses. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace, Cryon's defenses came alive. Massive orbital stations unleashed torrents of fire, and the Kthar's planetary fleet surged to meet the attackers. The battlefield was a chaotic spectacle, a storm of light and destruction as humanity's ships wove through the barrage, exploiting every weakness in the enemy's formation. The battle was not without cost. Human ships fell, their crews sacrificing themselves to buy precious time for the main assault. Entire squadrons charged headlong into enemy lines, their final transmissions filled with defiance. On the surface, the special operations teams infiltrated Kthar installations, planting charges and sabotaging critical systems. Explosions rippled across Cryon, plunging the planet into chaos. At the same time, Dr. Elias Morrow worked behind the scenes, coordinating with the splinter faction of the Accord. He ensured they remained neutral, warning them that any interference would be seen as an act of war. His words carried weight now. Humanity's victories had made their defiance impossible to ignore. The turning point came when the hyperspace disruptor, hidden aboard a cloaked ship, was activated near Cryon's largest orbital station. The resulting pulse disabled the station's weapons and crippled a significant portion of the Kthar fleet. Humanity seized the opportunity, pressing their advantage with relentless force. Admiral Vega's flagship, the Resolute, led the final charge. She directed her fleet with surgical precision, exploiting every gap in the enemy's defenses. Her calm demeanor never wavered, even as the bridge shook from enemy fire. "Hold the line," she commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We finish this here." On the ground, human forces breached the Kthar command center. The alien leadership, so confident in their superiority, found themselves cornered. The once mighty rulers of the Dominion were forced to surrender, their war machine dismantled before their eyes. As the battle subsided, humanity's final message was broadcast to the galaxy. Admiral Vega, flanked by her officers, stood before a live feed. Her words were clear and unwavering. To the Kthar Dominion and the Celestial Accord, humanity stands victorious. You underestimated us, dismissed us, and sought to destroy us. Let this serve as a reminder: we will not be broken. Never underestimate us again. The message reverberated across the stars, leaving no doubt that humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. In the aftermath, as the fleet limped back to Earth, the cost of victory became painfully clear. Entire cities had been leveled, colonies reduced to rubble, and countless lives lost. For every celebration, there was mourning; for every cheer, a moment of silence. Dr. Moreau, walking through the ruins of Earth's capital, reflected on the war's toll. "We've shown the galaxy what we're capable of," he said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "But the question now is, what will we choose to be? A force of destruction or a beacon of hope?" Humanity's role in the galaxy had changed forever. They were no longer the inexperienced newcomers but a force to be reckoned with. The Accord, fractured and humbled, began to reshape itself, inspired by humanity's defiance and resilience. Former enemies sought dialogue, alliances shifted, and the galaxy braced for a new era. And yet, amid the ashes of war, there was hope. Humanity had not only survived but had inspired others to rise against oppression. They had proven that even the smallest voice could shake the foundations of power. As Earth's people began to rebuild, their gaze turned to the stars. The war had shown them the depths of their strength, but it also reminded them of the fragility of peace. With that knowledge came a determination not just to endure but to thrive, to lead, and to ensure that their story would echo throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as survivors who dared to dream of something greater.